thank you everyone for being here on this gorgeous Jackson Day to talk about our water. It's only fitting that we're covered with it today. So I think that's a message to all of us. I'm Brad Nielsen, and I'm lucky enough to be chair of the board of Protect Our Water Jackson Hole. And I just have an opportunity to welcome you all here today. And again, just say thank you for taking time out of your schedules. For those of you who have traveled to be here, thank you for making the journey. And thank you for bringing with you all of your knowledge and passion about water and the issues that surround it. To just give you a brief history, we are now called Protect Our Water Jackson Hole. We're a 501c3. This organization was created about 9 years ago, and it started, and its original name was Friends of Fish Creek, because a number of people who lived along Fish Creek, a beautiful little body of water that we have just west of here, noticed significant changes in the quality and the condition of that stream, and they decided to do something about it. So they put together this organization and had a 5-year plan under which they would get in and get out, if you will, solve the problem, disband the organization in 5 years, and move forward and clean up Fish Creek in the process. Yeah, unfortunately, as we moved along and studies were conducted in conjunction with the USGS, scientific studies of the condition of the water and what it was that was causing that minor problem that this organization was going to fix, we came to understand, and it became very obvious, that what was impacting Fish Creek was not just impacting Fish Creek. That Fish Creek was, as we call it, the canary in the coal mine. And it was an indicator of what was going on all over the valley. We conducted a study of what were the nutrients and the pollutants going into Fish Creek, and the answers that came back drove us to the conclusion, well, wait a minute, that's happening all over this entire valley. It's happening throughout the headwaters of the Snake River. So as a responsible organization, we asked ourselves, should we still continue to focus on only Fish Creek, or do we broaden our purview and our responsibility and our action to cover the valley? And the board unanimously agreed at that time to go big or go home was the statement we used. So we changed our name to Protect Our Water Jackson Hole. We broadened our outreach and our education to the entire valley to talk to people about what was going on and inform them. We broadened our scientific research and study to understand what septics and landscape fertilizer and golf courses and agriculture were doing across the entire valley. And we've highlighted the problem. We are a small organization, one of the smallest 501c3s in a valley that's full of 501c3s, and yet I have no doubt, and I'm thoroughly convinced, we're dealing with, and we have some serious problems in this valley, as all do, but we're dealing with the biggest, probably the most complex, and the most critical problem in this valley that needs to get solved, because water is our lifeblood. as you can see. We live in the middle of it. We're surrounded by it. We recreate in it. Our wildlife lives by it and on it. It's the source of our tourism. It's our economy, and it's our health. I mean, it is our lifeblood. And unfortunately, what we're dealing with is not a new problem. Over 40 years ago, it was recognized clearly that septic systems don't work in this area, in a lot of our valley. The water was an issue, and we needed a full-time water person to get on board and start managing our water issues, or we were going down a slippery slope. Nothing happened for over 40 years. The 208 plan that was put in place was basically, it's shelved. There's never been a full-time water person hired in the county to watch over our water resources. And we're over 40 years later, and a couple years ago, our county sanitarian announced that we were permitting septic systems at an unprecedented rate in this valley. So our biggest problem has been ignored. So over the last 3 years, POWJH, I think, has taken some great steps to bring this to the forefront. You're all aware of the SPET measure. Megan mentioned it last night. The most votes ever received for a SPET measure. Our population in this valley gets the problem and understands it. POWJH has worked tirelessly for a couple years, instigated and now has in the process what we call a water quality management plan with the county TCD, the town of Jackson Hole, and Protect Our Water Jackson Hole. We've hired a contractor to look over all of our water resources in the valley, all of our infrastructure in the valley, and tell us what it is we need to do to start now to address our water quality problems, how we manage our wastewater, how we collect it, treat it, dispose of it. And that is in the process, and we hope to have that plan at the end of the year. And we hope to have some answers to that. Megan and the team have been working tirelessly with the WQMP group to keep them going in the right direction, and let's come up with the right answers. So we're at a crucial point now. Our population is aware of the issue. We're going to have, hopefully, a roadmap at the end of this year that we can implement. And what we did today, what Megan and the POWJH team have done today is bring the best and the brightest that we have in this valley and even from around the country together here today to talk about where we are and how we solve this problem, because it's time for action. Over 40 years is way too long. We can't go another 40 years. You're going to hear from Ashley from Cape Cod, who's going to tell you about where Cape Cod was 10 years ago and the issues they're dealing with now. And we can either wait 10 years and be where they are now, or we get on top of this today and take care of it. Water is our lifeblood, and we have to take care of it. So what I really hope thank you for being here. What we're really hoping we get out of all of you here today are questions, suggestions, answers, provocation, if you will, to help us when we get this master plan out to move to the next steps. How are we going to implement this? What are we going to do? How are we going to get the infrastructure we need? And so we brought the best and brightest here today to engage you on this problem at this critical time. And we hope you'll stick with us and continue to stay engaged as we move forward over the course of the next 6 months, year, couple years, and 5 years and solve this problem. So thank you again. With that, I'll turn it over to Megan Quinn, the Executive Director of Protect Our Water Jackson Hole.
Hi, everyone. And thank you for those of you who came to the rally last night and then you're here today. So it's water, 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 as Jim Rook always says. So welcome and thank you so much for joining us. We really have invited you here today because you're leaders in the community, and we've taken some really great steps forward, but we can't move forward much more without leadership in this community, the community taking control of this and saying we need to move forward, in particular for critical infrastructure. So, many people are surprised when they hear that we have water quality issues. So I'm going to touch on some of the water quality issues. I'm not going to talk long just because, we brought all these people. I'll talk to you any day. So if you want to call me up and we'll meet and talk about water, any day. But we have brought in some incredible speakers today, and I really want you to hear from them. We have also allocated enough time for you to ask questions. So that is what I want you to listen, learn, and ask questions, okay? So if you look at, we gave you placemats, and on those placemats is our watershed. And this is obviously a little bit of an interesting thing, but this is where our watershed comes through our small community, and that's why it's pretty important for you to be aware of. So north of Jackson are wild and scenic waters, south of Jackson are wild and scenic waters, and then we need to take care of this section of water that you're looking at on this placemat. And one of the issues too is that the Snake River is designated by the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, as a sole source aquifer. And there's two factors for this that are important for this designation. And number one, the Snake River aquifer provides the drinking water to nearly the entire population in Teton County. And number two, there is no alternative drinking water sources available in the aquifer if it became contaminated. The issue is that there's strong evidence that it is being contaminated. And if you look at this map, you can kind of go through and highlight different areas. I mean, a lot of this has to do with how quickly Teton County has grown, the population has grown, the infrastructure, as Brad had said, unprecedented amount of septic systems, and that becomes an issue. So a couple things I wanted to go through. So Flat Creek runs through the town of Jackson. It also goes through Rafter J, Melody Ranch, and there's, people used to go down Flat Tube and tube down Flat Creek, sorry, and now a lot of them don't because there are areas of it that are impaired by the Wyoming DEQ. In addition to that, if you look north of town, there are 2 hotels north of town. They have been in violations for the past 10 years. They're at the headwaters of Flat Creek, and so those are contaminating. So they've had DEQ violations for the past 10 years. You know, the thing is that they have tried. You know, it's not to put them down. They have tried. The problem is that our soils just do not work. So their leach fields just continue to fail. And we are hoping to put a sewer line north of town from that. Then, of course, you go all the way down to Hoback, and in Hoback you have issues, again, unfit for human consumption, a lot of the drinking water down there. We also have Kelly, South Park, Alta, and Hog Island. All those areas are considered what they call nitrate hotspots, in which septic systems are contaminating the waters in different areas. And then we go to Wilson. And a lot of people hear about Wilson often, about the issues on Wilson. There was a recent study that found that, you know, if there's an increase in precipitation, then there was an increase in human sewage. If there was an increase in development, there was an increase in human sewage. So with that, that means that it's pointing to septic systems. So again, too much nitrogen and phosphorus causes algae to grow faster than the ecosystem can handle. One of the last areas, if you look at south of town, this is where the wastewater treatment plant is. This is the town's wastewater treatment plant. And the town is doing really the best that they can, but it's a lagoon system. And you know, this was built in the 1970s. So you know, the thing is that we need to upgrade our technology in order to address, number 1, water quality, and number 2, capacity. So again, we're going to be talking about critical infrastructure. People are going to be talking about the different areas that they have expertise in, and want you to understand that these are the things that we can control. There's some pollutants that we can't control, but this is something that we can control. And so think about that while you're learning from all these folks.